It's Ziggy. I know my hair is short. I don't have my mustache. It's been a rough week. Couple weeks. We can talk about that later. I'm recording this because I think there's something important that needs to be addressed, and I wrote something out. Initially, I wrote this for when or if I got to speak to Shang about everything that has gone on recently. So a majority of what you're going to hear is formatted in the context of me speaking to him. In the end, though, I do address the club as a whole, and I firmly believe that everyone should hear this. So I'm going to say a lot of things that I just need you to hear, because I'm going to talk for a bit. So let's just start. I understand that at some point I'm going to say something that you will want to respond to or explain, and trust me, I want to hear what that is, because you are due that respect, and everyone deserves that much. I'm sure you're not happy that something like this hasn't happened sooner, or you weren't directly asked immediately, but I assure you there is plenty of reason for that. And what I need right now is time to address what is necessary. First off, yes, I was inside your house. Both Shawn and I were urged to come inside by TJ. I'm not going to try and make sense of seeing TJ. Frankly, there's too much going on for me to try and wrestle with that at the moment, but regardless, he told us that he was living there and that we needed to come inside. When I walked in, I was met with a lot of blood that trailed from Barry's room, looking like someone had been dragged from the bed to the front door. I know we all have seen our fair share of bodies at this point, and we know that that amount of blood that was in your house most certainly wouldn't leave someone alive, or at the very least, either laid up in a coma or brain dead. I'm not going to pretend to know the entirety of the conversations you've had with everyone, but what I can recall is being told that when asked about the blood initially, either you or Edbert said it was your blood. I'm confident that if that were the case, we'd be having this talk in an infirmary. Of course, the initial instinctual part of my mind quickly drew a picture of what could have happened in my head, but because you are who you are, I cast it out. We are no stranger to you having killed other people, and maybe this was just more of the same. So be it. That's your business, and I was uncomfortable having been inside and seeing it. While I was concerned with what happened, I would have been okay with continuing to move forward if it were not the next day TJ hadn't shown me a map that he found on the pier in Polito just below your house and mentioned to me that he doesn't know where his dad is. Him saying that last part stuck with me. I'm sure the map has made it back to you at this point. The next thing we should talk about is what happened to Maggie. While the logistics of you shooting her have certainly been a topic of debate, I think more importantly it has served as a catalyst for people to start talking and finally sharing their opinions on things. I understand that it may feel directly targeted at you, and to be fair, a large portion of it is, but it speaks volumes to where and who we are as a club. Specifically speaking on Maggie being shot, I don't know the specifics of what was said or sent to Rue, but I can concede that initially that isn't a good way of handling it, even though that isn't defined whatsoever. However, Maggie then went in person to the VP of this club and disclosed that she wished to talk. This was approved by Shawn, but she needed to tell others. She then began to reach out to Finn, to me, to Nana, to Kelly, and then afterward you. The right of a prospect has always been that they can walk away whenever they want without the threat of violence. Of course, we haven't had that many prospects leave, but we know that it is indeed possible. Remedy was shot because she ratted during a war, so that one doesn't matter.
Oh, shit!
Alice, however, said that it wasn't for her anymore, and she was not harmed. So Maggie was shot because it wasn't good enough? The cheap excuse that has been said about all of this is, well, technically she's already gone, so it doesn't matter. Not only was Maggie still in the process of addressing her stepping away, as a club, we let her contribute day in and day out in countless different ways for over a year. She said herself she wanted nothing more for so long to belong to us as a person. Maggie kept us afloat during the Hades War, joined job after job to help move things forward. When people were low, she did her best to keep their heads above the water. High Command constantly moving the goalposts for her to be patched because she couldn't fully state who she was in the club. Are we blind? Maggie wanted to be a pillar, a part of the backbone of who we are, for over a year. Any sane person would begin to question themselves and their self-worth after that long without being recognized, let alone acknowledged even a bit. I know for a fact that more talks about her being patched were happening in recent times, but very obviously it was entirely too little, too late. When you shot her, you said, "You've given up before you even began to try." This couldn't be the furthest thing from the truth, and you know it. Why even set this standard for us if we do not follow it? We failed her as a club. She did not fail us. So what was the reason? Maggie slowly going about it in a good way to say goodbye. She had proven more than enough that she deserved a patch, the patch on our backs. You even were wanting to fight with her in High Command to get her patched. It wasn't that bullshit of an excuse that it wasn't good for you. I know what it was. I saw in your eyes what happened when she said that she was leaving. One of the things Maggie said, and I quote, "I don't have the fight anymore. I'm tired." I knew as soon as those words left her mouth, you were going to shoot her.
Who the fuck is Maggie?
This brings me to my last and final point. So bear with me. It's a little bit of a long one. I'm going to preface this last bit with something I think is probably the most important thing about this club. Something that we have forgotten. It is often that when things like this happen, and many people may have expected different, someone will say, "We're not the good guys." Yeah, hey, no fucking shit. We steal, we stab, we shoot, we run, do drugs, drive fast cars, and a spot of murder from time to time. All of us have seen and caused our fair share of death. This straw man of a phrase, however, has begun to be used as an out to be cold to one another. When Barry brought me into this club, he made it very clear that things were going to be very different from the BBMC of old. I understand there aren't all that many of you from that era, and even those of you who are might have only seen the tail end of it, but I digress. He told me that this club is its people, and its patch. It's the patch over everything else. No matter where we are or who they were, if they had a patch on their back, they mattered. All of who they were mattered, not just what they could contribute. Of course, he wanted to propel the club forward, and structure is needed for that, but we were not meant to be heartless cogs in a machine that could be tossed aside whenever the operators felt like it. The opinions and the voices of the club mattered. That's why the Reaper vote was instated, so those who led us could have varying and opposing views, and can come to compromises or decisions for the better health of the club. Alongside that, to threaten a patch is to threaten the whole of the ADMC. It is no secret after what happened and what I saw, I have gone to lots of the club to talk to them about their thoughts regarding it. and I have no issue stating that, nor will I ever attempt to hide it. As I stated earlier, of course those people have their opinions of you, but what is more important is their opinions of the club's direction and high command. Now, I'm sure hearing that there are strong opinions about you can be incredibly frustrating to hear. Why haven't they came to me? They can just talk to me themselves. The answer to that is fairly obvious. Fear. It is no secret that you are prone to anger and violence. Most of us are, and we turn that outward to anyone who would stand against us. You, however, have done the opposite. Your anger has led to the belittling of those important to the club, making them question their worth or their job. Of course, everyone understands that we're not going to be friendly or fucking sunshine and rainbows all the time. No shit. But to demoralize and degrade, to be called useless, to feel like they, in fact, do not matter to the club. When Kelly was Sergeant at Arms, he was called useless and said that he was wasting others' time. Even now, Sophie questions whether or not she deserves the role that she is so clearly fit for. One day you were getting ready to go boosting, and they asked you to come, and because you had recently gotten upset over some small issue about bet, you said, "Why would I go boosting with you people?" As if you weren't one of us. You have made the threat of violence very clear as well. When Dean had a conflict with that sneaky person, he did not know that this guy had DID and had weird fucked up personalities. But you were convinced that he did and was making things difficult because of that. When you confronted him with Edbert, Dean made an attempt to defend himself because of his tone, you pointed your gun at his head. A gun to your patch. Let's say Dean hadn't attempted to make a defense for himself. Damned if he did, damned if he didn't. Ivy made some mistakes, and I won't pretend to know the entire context of this part, but you and Edbert took her out into the woods and threatened to kill her as well. That she had one last chance, otherwise you'd kill her. No Reaper vote needed. These people do not speak to you because they feel either they do not have a place to speak, or they fear they will be killed for it. We joined this club to do what we want and fight against oppression, not live under it. Let's say that even somehow we look past all of that. You are erratic and often unpredictable. You say Shawn is bad for involving himself at the lighthouse when Big Kev has videos of you at random killing locals and sacrificing people at death's doorstep, among several other things. Only to afterward forget that you had done any of that at all. How is anyone to be sure of what you'll say or do when you speak to them? Especially when you make an active effort to close them off. I know this to be the truth because I've experienced it firsthand. In regards to you, this is the last thing I say before I'll speak on High Command and the club as a whole. After you found out about me and Shawn having been inside your house, you and Irish had an argument. Edbert and Tally being witness to it. Again, I will not claim to know all of what was said during this conversation. However, there is one thing that has been repeated among the club. You said to Shawn, "I wish I could put a gun in your mouth and pull the trigger." That is, as it currently stands, your VP of your club. Do you know what Barry did when Irwin started to become violent and erratic to those closest to him? When he started to turn his violence inward toward the club, Barry shot him. Irwin Dundee was the PM and Barry shot him. Because he knew it was the only thing that was going to keep the club going in the long run. He knew that shooting him was ultimately club first. as Irwin had power and survival in his mind. How do you think, or how do I think that should be handled or answered? I don't know. I don't know if I get a say. I'm just the chaplain who barely contributes anything to the club after all, right? To my last and final point, one which I will speak freely on, Barry Benson, High Command, and the club as a whole. Because of his absence, while I do love and respect Barry, Barry has failed us as our PM, leaving us in the dark as a people and leaving High Command without its foundation. Barry should have stepped down a long time ago. High Command, I understand not everything can be solved quickly, and conflicting views make that worse. But to never compromise is the death of our leadership. With no one to reinforce it, sight of the club's original views and purpose has been lost. The club as a whole, we have been too silent on what our thoughts are. Even if they may conflict with one another, we must be open about what we think we should be doing, so that we can understand one another and continue to move forward together as a club. Some of us have made it clear that they are not here for friends, but rather a purpose. Some of us are here to belong to that purpose while fostering connections at the same time. Even if you feel like you in particular have not lost sight in what it means to be ADMC, you certainly have been too silent. Honestly, I know that with everything that has occurred, it will likely spark violence. There is certainly nothing I can do to stop that. What comes after this, I am unsure. But I hope with this bit of context and the bit of evidence that we do have, we can move forward I stopped writing at this point. I don't know what else to say. Thank you for listening for this long, and well, I don't know what comes next. This last portion of the video will be images that I took from inside Shang's house, along with a photo of the bloody handprints that were found that led to Shang's house. I followed the trail of them to the church in Polito. You will see the last bloody handprint and then a Bible verse written on the sign at the church. It is Deuteronomy 32:35. I could be wrong on the exact numbering, but I will read that out to you.
What the fuck?
This is the map. I'm sure everyone has this at this point. This is the bloody handprint, the last one. This is Deuteronomy 32:35, and to spare you from looking up what it says. It is mine to avenge, I will repay. In due time their foot will slip. Their day of disaster is near, and their doom rushes upon them. Thank you. Alright, hey. It's Ziggy. I know. My hair is short. I don't have my mustache. It's been a rough week. Couple weeks.
We met at the bar last night. You don't even remember? We had sex in your car.
Huh. I don't understand what the fuck just happened. Okay, so they thought Barry was dead. I don't understand what Barry, them thinking Barry was dead. Like I don't know how those two things would make it. I don't know. So they thought maybe Shang killed Barry, and they went looking for him. Okay, fine. But then they cut away from Barry afterwards. I don't really... So much context. I feel like I'm missing context. I don't... Very confused. So they thought Barry's dead, so they're mad at Shang. But
I don't really care.
he should have stepped down anyway. Did they care about Barry or did they not care about Barry? I don't know. It's like a lot of these subjects kind of like mixed together. But whatever. Anyways. Maybe they faked Barry's death? I don't know. None of this fucking adds up. Sounds like they just wanted an excuse to leave. Oh yeah, let me add an hour to this. We are in a new day. All right, okay. I've got more questions than answers. I don't really care, to be honest. Who the fuck is Maggie? Maybe?
DJ's going good, but I don't know. It just feels like a sellout.
Who the fuck?
Spinning records for rich kids? It ain't my vibe. I know I grew up rock. I mean, it's more of a state of mind. Obviously,
By the way, that's not an invitation for Meta. That was a really cool, like, that was a really cool video. It's kind of crazy all that shit was happening. I had no fucking idea. The thing is, like, this isn't any of Nino's business. At the end of the day, Nino fucks with Shang heavy. Nino has zero relationship with ADMC or whatever they're called now. Like zero relationship. I don't even know if they've really ever bumped into each other outside of Shawn's trial, but most of what is ADMC, Nino does fuck with them heavy, Shang especially. So like at the end of the day, you know, like it's like not our business, but like, you know, if Nino's gonna look at one way, obviously he's gonna be more leaning towards like believing what Shawn said. I think why Nino, you know why Nino's gonna believe what Shang's side? because the ADMC story is literally the story of everybody. It just happened with Chaos Legion. It happened to AMC. It's happening to the PD. It's happening to Chaos Legion. Like, it's literally all three in the same like week and a half, 2 weeks, where the what we're hearing is an authority is saying no, and they're being too mean. And Nino's like, suck my dick. This is San Andreas, motherfucker. What's going on, Bazin?
Hello, Nino. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, not too bad.
Fantastic. Nino, I remember we had this conversation a couple of days ago about dungeon and the warehouse. Remember?
Yeah, and yes, I remember. Yeah.
Yeah. So I've decided what I wanted to do with the warehouse, I wanted to put all of my ideas into one big warehouse. But after some calls, after